Hello, love. So excited to be back with you. Here we are at the beginning of November. I can't even believe it. 2024 is almost over. I love this time of the year. I love the holidays. I like winter in Arizona for sure. I'm really always excited to have that cool air and I really enjoy that. And so I love this time of the year. And this time of the year, I do a lot of reflection and a lot of how my year has gone, what I've learned, how I've grown, what's gone well, what's been challenging, because it's a really good time to do that, I think. And also how I want to finish the year strong. I don't want to power down the last 2 months of the year. I don't want to forget myself the last 2 months of the year. I want to keep, working on myself and my growth. And, I think every day we get this opportunity. And so the time of the year does not matter. I know. And so when I think about the topic that I want to talk about today, people pleasing, if you are a people pleaser or a former people pleaser, I think you'll love this episode. I for sure have been a people pleaser. It can still, come up for me. And I heard this. What really inspired this episode was I heard this, and I can't remember if I read it or where I saw it or heard it, but someone said, a yes, saying yes to something doesn't really mean anything if you never say no. And I was thinking about how often, we just say yes to things, even if we don't want to do them. And, I think about this in the holidays. You have things that even sometimes traditions that you don't really love or you don't really want to do, or parties that you don't want to go to, or things you don't want to host, or, just all the things. But because, you've always done it, or because this is just what you think people expect from you, you do it. And what I think about people pleasing is that it's just so draining. It's draining on your soul and it takes away from the things you want to do and your enjoyment too. Because over time, when you do things that you don't want to do, when you have things in your life that you don't want, or you are living a life that you don't recognize because you're just trying to please all the folks, you can really become resentful and really start to turn that on yourself, where you're like, I don't like me anymore. And it comes from the space of just not recognizing who you are anymore because you don't even know what you like or what you want. I think this is so important because I don't want to say most, but many women, we were socialized to believe we're the nurturers, we're the caretakers, we do all the things. And then, if you look throughout your life and you look throughout the perfectionism and how we're supposed to show up and what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to wear the superhero cape. I've talked a lot lately to a lot of friends about this, superhero, superwoman phenomenon. And I'm going to talk about it in another episode more in detail. But it comes from, and then what happens over time, this perfectionistic thought is we start to become just people pleasers. And, this is the thing, folks. What I've learned is, you can try to please all the folks, but mostly you can't because we're all humans and we come with our own experiences, our own thoughts, our own beliefs. And when you're running around trying to please everyone, what happens is, again, it just creates a lot of resentment and a lot of frustration and sadness within yourself. And so I think people pleasing happens for a variety of reasons. Some of it comes from this need for approval. We want others' approval. We want someone outside of us to say we're okay. And this is the human condition. I think most folks, we like it when people like who we are, what we're doing, all the things. Or, when we give a gift and someone's like, oh my gosh, I love it, right? We love that. And I'm not saying that's wrong, but I think it's good to understand how much of it are you doing? Because when you are looking for others' approval and then they don't give it to you, what do you then do to yourself? Because what I find, and I see this with my clients, is that then they beat themselves up. They're not good enough. They, are worthless, they are not smart enough, all the different pieces. And so, understanding how this kind of seeking validation from others is showing up for you. Another reason I think people pleasing happens really is just this fear of rejection or conflict. And so, I myself am not a lover of confrontation and or rejection. I don't think any of us want rejection. And so what happens is we think if we could just please this person enough, if we can just please our boss, please our spouse, please our partner, please our friends, whatever, our mothers, whomever it is, if we could just please them, then we won't have conflict and they won't reject us. But this is the crazy part. We still probably have a lot of conflict and we still can have rejection. And so understanding that we think by pleasing and doing all this that we're going to get this result, and what ends up happening is it's even, I would say, more of like a punch to the gut when you feel like you've done all these things and you still get rejected, or someone's not happy with you, someone's upset at how you're doing it, and you're like, oh my gosh, I've been doing all this and you're just still not happy. I mean, ladies, like, oh, right? I mean, think about that. Another reason I think, people pleasing happens is really just this, common belief amongst, I would say, most humans, just this lack of, enoughness, this I'm not worthy, I'm not enough. And so I think you go into prioritizing others' needs over your own because some piece of it genuinely I love helping others. I love what I get from helping and supporting, and I love my family, all those things. So again, all of this uh, is can be good, but then there's also a negative side when it's a constant thing, where we're constantly prioritizing and we're not taking care of ourselves, we're not even putting ourselves on the list, and it comes from this space of I'm not worthy, I'm not enough, I need to, do all of this for others because they deserve it and I don't. People pleasing, it comes from these things. I think too, if you had someone in your life, I think about my mom, and she for sure was a people pleaser, and she wanted to do things for others, and she had a lot of experiences where she gave a lot and didn't get a lot in return, and it caused her a lot of frustration and sadness. And I think about that because I watched that. And so it was somewhat learned that I needed to, again, my mom didn't have these tools. She was a beautiful human being, and she didn't have this mindset. She didn't have someone saying, hey, Jerry, why don't, you take some time for yourself? Why, where are you on the list? And, I think there are some steps to overcoming people pleasing. And I want to give you a couple because, when first always is awareness and identifying it, right? Awareness is the first step in anything I teach, anything I work with my clients, is just understanding your thinking around it, how it's playing out in your life. I know this. There are some of you listening to this right now. You are not aware that you prioritize everyone else's needs over your own, that you are a people pleaser and have been, and it all comes from wanting validation and this, low self-worth, and that it's affecting you. And we make all the excuses for it, well, I just like helping people. I like helping support. Of course you do, but it can't be at the expense of yourself, because when you are not at your best self, when you are drained, when you are doing things and it's causing a lot of resentment, you're not showing up as your best self. The crazy part about all of this is when I started to focus on myself and started doing mind management, when I become my best self when I'm like prioritizing others' needs and I'm, going into robot mode and all that, I'm not my best self. I don't show up as my best self for the people in my life. I don't show up for the best, at work, at home, business, all the different things. And so it's just like this fallacy that if you prioritize your own needs, that others will suffer. What I believe is when you prioritize everyone else's needs and you're not even in the list, you're not even in the picture, everyone else suffers because you can't be your best self because you're drained, you're burnt out, you feel resentment. And if you think that doesn't show up, it does. If you think like when you do something from a place of resentment versus doing something from joy and happiness, everyone knows, everyone can feel it. Understanding and being aware, how is this showing up? How is this going to show up over the next 2 months as we go in the holiday season, as you're finishing up your year? How is this going to show up? And then the second step to this is then making decisions and deciding, like, where is it that I want? This goes back to the no. I know. If you're a people pleaser, you have a very hard time saying no. Very hard time, like, whoa, that doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel right. But I think you can say no in a really great way that is with compassion. It doesn't have to be, you know, no, because, in a very harsh way. It can be in a very gentle and loving way. I like when people ask me to do things and I can't. There's lots of times people ask me for things and I can't do it or I don't want to do it. I can say, hey, right now I'm not good. I can't prioritize that. And I love you. And, I think about this, there's a certain party every year that I used to attend. I don't attend it any longer because I just didn't enjoy it. And it's around the other holidays and I didn't enjoy it. And so, I can still tell, this person that I love them but it's just not for me. It's not something I want to do. And so you can still come with love and you can even come with compromise sometimes too. Sometimes people ask me something and I'm like, well, I can't do this, but this is something I can do. And then I give an alternate thing that I can. And so this is just building in these, boundaries for your own well-being. Look, my love, no one is going to stand up for you, really, but you. I'm not saying you don't have people in your life that love you and that will, but ultimately they're trying to stand up for their own selves and trying to make it through this world too. And ultimately, it's your responsibility to start to decide what you want. And I find that when we're not getting the things we want in life and when we're not showing up for ourselves, we start to get angry at the people around us and we start to blame them. And I just want you to bring that back into yourself because ultimately you want yourself on the list. You want to start to be able to say no to the things that you don't want to do. And I just want to give you that permission. I know, ladies, it's hard sometimes because you're like, but Shannon, I have to. And I'm like, well, again, everything has good and bad in it. Everything has consequences, negative and positive consequences. And you just have to make decisions for yourself on what's best for you. Putting yourself on that list, being able to say no to things that you don't want to do. And then sometimes you have to say no to yourself. This is not just other folks who are out there, telling you. People pleasing is because you want validation from others. I find a lot of times it's not that other people are asking you to do something. You are doing it because you want to please them. They didn't ask for it. They don't even really care about it that much. This is the crazy part about it all. They don't even care. They wouldn't even miss it. But you're trying to gain and seek the validation. So you're doing it and then they don't even, right? And so sometimes you have to say no to you too. You have to really understand this goes back to step one. Step one is really what's the awareness? Why are you doing something? Do you want to do it anymore? Where is people pleasing showing up? And then two is saying no, which sometimes that's to yourself. And then also, my love, I always go back to treating yourself kindly through this. People pleasing doesn't go away in a moment. And it takes time and compassion and kindness to yourself as you start to learn how to find where your nose, where you want them to be. And you start to make decisions about how to put yourself back on the list and how to start, again, doing it with love for the other humans in your life, but and also, I don't even want to say but, and also, having that for yourself. And, I always think this. Sometimes we get upset at how someone treats us. And I always think we teach others how to treat us by the way that we treat ourselves. And so, how are you treating yourself? Because that is the best example that you are showing anyone else. If you're not showing up for yourself, you're trying to please everyone, you're trying and you're doing it with resentment and frustration, and you're just burnt out. That is, and you're just showing folks that you're not important, because if you can't be important to yourself, you can't expect anyone else to think that either. It's an important thing that I learned through all this work, is that how I treat myself is important. How I show up for myself is important. And I'm teaching others how to treat me by the way that I treat myself. Yes, I'm going to leave that right there, because I think, ladies, I want you to just chew on that. So, people pleasing, give yourself some kind and compassion. Yeah, you got this, my love. Yes. All right, my love. I will see you in a couple weeks. I hope that you have a beautiful November wherever you are. All right. Bye, my loves.